All right, fellas, I like making tools. I'm sure a lot of you guys like tools. So I just made a little tool. Okay. This is like about a year ago. And what is that, Arch? Well, it's a pickle fork, fellas. So to get into it real quick, so essentially trying to work around a shop and a house and just crap happens. And like last year, those back doors that I have are real nice, but they started needing some work bad. And it gets real windy. Like yesterday we had a storm and well, the umbrella broke because it wasn't taken in. And I kept saying to the ladies, you got to bring it in. You got to bring it in. It's getting to be winter. Well, the door got pulled out of my hand and it didn't have a proper stop. And it's something too that I need to fix. All right. Usually I latch the door back, but the wind grabbed it. And back there across the lake and the cemetery and everything else. Yeah. And, well, the door swung open, slammed against the wall, and exploded, really damaged the entry lock. So we're talking about entry locks. Once you destroy an entry lock like that, that lock was keyed to the bolt lock, the deadbolt above it, right? So typically that's our configuration, is we have an entry-style lock set. We like it keyed to the deadbolt above it, right? How many keys do you need to keep? So the problem is that, well, what do you do when you want to rekey? Now, there's a lot of ways of going about it today. Some of these lock sets get to be pretty expensive. And yeah, you can go buy one that's already keyed, replace both of them, get rid of the old stuff. But, if you're tight with cash like me, and I got a million things to spend money that I don't have on, I thought, well, what do I do? How do I deal with this? If I bought just a cheap lock set, like an entry set, it's not going to be keyed to the deadbolt, and that's just not acceptable. I mean, I got doors all over the place. This is killing me. I'm still having a hard time getting into the shop. What do you do, right? Well, somebody gave me a lock set, got it from somewhere. I don't know, whatever. It looks like they took the keys out of it. It probably came in like a dual set, and they only needed like maybe the deadbolt or whatever. Well, what do? How do you key them alike? Well, I'm not a locksmith, so one way to do it is to take the old lock set, the actual lock cylinder tumbler set, out of the broken doorknob and put it in a new one. So I have this new quick set lock set, entry set, put that on essentially on the door, but then you have two different keys. It didn't come with keys, but it's free. And you can save a bunch of money by doing stuff like this. For example, if some of your stuff is really wearing out and you find stuff on, a garage sale, or you just want to key your tumblers alike, rather than take the tumblers apart and do it that way, that's difficult, and you need a special tool. In this case, you need a special tool as well to be able to get your cylinder lock out of your doorknob, and then you take the new one out, and then you swap. So that's what I'm going to be doing this episode. I got to get these doors cleaned up. In another episode, I'll probably have something like where I went over the doors, fixed them up, hinge broke off, stuff's rotting all over the place. Things need work, and anywhere you can save some money. Plus, I like building little tools. Like I have all kinds of stuff like this, right? Where you bend one, you modify another, right? Everybody's making clearance wrenches. So this is made out of stainless, a piece of stainless, and it actually has dual purpose. Now, I didn't put the screwdriver on the other side, and you'll see more about that in the video. And because you have to take some, the rest of it apart to get to it. And we'll go over that in this video. What's inside, what do you do, and how do you swap it out, rather than just go and buying expensive lock sets and just changing everything out. That's going to cost you some big coin. So I saved some money. And then subsequent to that, I started working on the door and fixing it up. I still have a little bit more to do to the door to make it viable again, but I'll probably have to wait to the spring or whatever. It's getting cold out already. Let's get started on this. And let's save a little bit of money, and I'll show you guys how to do something like this. I'll see you in a minute. This is not in there very well anymore because it's been beat up, but I'm going to show you how to fix some issues with stripped screws in a bit. So we're just going to take these screws out, and this is the stuff that we're going to be replacing. I'm going to get you in close, right? There's something that's broken. It just came off, right? Because it got broken. This is actually broken in here. We'll pull the lock set out. This is the handle assembly. and then the bolt. All right, and you can clean up in there a little bit. Let's go over to the table, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so these are the parts that we took out, and that are part of this old lock set that's been damaged. You could see this piece is broken. They also just wear out. This is the one that we use the most because we're in and out. And then, of course, it got damaged from sort of slamming, and you could see it got crushed all up in here. That wind can be brutal, and that door is a big sail, so we're going to get to this door in the near future. So all this stuff we're just going to push to the side, but what we want to focus on is the handle with the lock in it. Now I'm going to put it back together so I can show you how to take it apart. I want you to see inside. So what you're going to look at is on this end, and what you're going to see inside there are these two little clips. That's what holds this in to the doorknob itself. And that's it. That's all that holds it. All right, so let's put it back together. Now you may not be able to see, and that's why I wanted to show you. See? It just popped right in. Now to get it out, I think the simplest way, so I'm going to take my two screwdrivers. I'm going to go one to push the clip, one clip. The second one to push the other clip. So since you've already seen what they look like. All right, now I need one more screwdriver. The clips are disengaged, and you probably can't see in there, but I just need one more screwdriver to push that whole assembly out. Okay? And that's all the new stuff that we're going to be using. So we've got all of our pieces laid out, and we see how the mechanism works. And we're going to make our own pickle fork, right? Because you have to be able to compress these in. So we're going to make a pickle fork, and I think I know what size it needs to be. And this screwdriver, the width of it seems to fit in here real nice. Really, really nice. Because it's able to compress this upper lock. It fits in there properly. And I think if we make our pickle fork just a little bit bigger than that, because we can always remove some material on the belt sander or the grinder. So we're going to make a pickle fork. You could buy these, but for those of you guys that are into shop stuff, this is just about a half of an inch, right? It's 1/16 less. So I think if we make it a half of an inch, that might be a little too big. I don't have a gauge tool, but it's about 1/8 of an inch. It's pretty heavy duty. Any kind of steel will work. This happens to be just something nice. It's kind of like a stainless. And I'm going to go lengthwise. So I'm just going to map out a half of an inch here. And we can always remove material, right? You can always grind it down to the size we need it, but we can't add material. So this should be pretty square. This was stamped out. Got it clamped to the table, and let's see. I'm going to try to follow this line. I'll grind it, then I'll deburr it, and then I'll check it. And I'm just going to repeat that until I get it to fit. That's not bad. It's getting closer. All right, I'm going to keep checking it until I get it. So you see I have a little V drawn in, and that's the shape, similar to the shape that we want. But I can tell you that we should have removed the line because it's just a bit too tall, about 1/16 of an inch. So it's a little too wide. It's not the most comfortable tool. We haven't rounded all the edges yet, but it's just about the right size. It's a little bit of a pain in the neck to get in, and it's in. All right, and we need to get it down to where those clips are. So if we have to remove a little bit more material, we will. Okay, I got it chucked up in the vise real tight because I don't want it moving on me, and it's going to get flimsy, so I don't want to take the chance, but we'll see if we can get my face in that and do the best I can to cut a V-notch. We can always widen it with a file or something. All right, it's not great because I'm biased to one side. I did flip it around and work it, but the angle isn't quite right. It's not steep enough on this side, but it still might work. So we don't want to give up yet. Again, you can always make a better one because, you know, I have a number of locks to do. And as is often the case whenever I'm making a tool or whatever, you know, the first few shots I do, I'm trying to figure out, you know, the shape and how I want to stand. If you're working with your hands, a lot of it has to do with where do you stand, how do you hold something. Yeah, this one, the angle isn't good, but I think we can try it. Certainly not elegant, but let's find out. I might want my glove because it's been deburred, but it's pretty rough. So I haven't polished it because, again, this just might be the prototype. I rounded the edges a little bit. All right, it's going in. I think we need to take off a little bit more material with the grinder because I don't think it's going in far enough. All right, let's see. Now the idea is to try to get these things in that ramp, and just all you need to do is just grab them enough. They don't have to go in very far, they just have to be displaced. That feels better. We need to remove a little bit more material. I think it's still just a little too, yeah. Yep. It's just a little too wide. We're real close. Yep. It's a little too wide. All right, we got to come back to about here with the grinder. Okay, so I actually made this angle here a little bit more steep to reflect that one. I could still make it a little bit more, but what we're doing is I put the lock back in, and what we want to do is just try to engage it just enough, and you have to pick at it a little. And we may need to make that a little bit steeper. See, watch. Right? Sorry if I did it out of view. If we can have enough play in here, I think once I get the dimensions right, I'll tell you what they are when we're done. So that's going in there. And just to try to, see that, done. All right, now on the other side, you could make like a screwdriver. I'm not going to need that because we're just going to use a screwdriver. It's just that simple, guys. So this is ours. This is the broken one. This is all broken. I think we're going to use this one here. I'm going to wipe it off, and we'll put a little fresh white grease on it. Now, I didn't do a great job because that's how I am with prototypes, right? I'm a little quick, and honestly, it's a good tool. This is made from stainless. It's not going to rust. There's nothing wrong with it. I probably would just put a little bit more of a ramp on that, but I would leave it because it works. Down here, where we're penetrating, or as Klaus Schwab said, penetrating the cabinets, it is less than 1/2 of an inch. So that is, hold on. Yeah, I can't see that, guys. I just don't have the eyes anymore. 15, 30 seconds? 14, maybe? You're going to have to play with it. You're going to have to massage it. Now, you can remove this cylinder, but I would be careful with that. Look, we bent it a little bit, just because I was putting a screwdriver in there. We're going to have to fix that. That's why I didn't want to do the screwdriver method. But we'll fix that. It's spring steel. Just be gentle with it. You can remove this cylinder, but then you're talking about doing a whole different operation. If you're not careful, there's a sleeve that goes in here. You have to remove. There's a C-clip here, and there's a special sleeve that you need to push over it to try to keep the cylinders in place. I would say the tumblers. I'm not a locksmith, But if you don't keep them in place, right, when you go to pull it out, there's little springs, there's little tumblers, you could lose them, disorient them. And the one that we want is this one. I think I'll polish this up a little bit before we stick it in. So leave that one to the side, right? I don't even think I have the key for that. Okay, and you need the key, by the way, to move these tumblers around. All right, let's put it back together. Now, I think what I'd like to do, it's all clean. Just give it a blow. We'll put some graphite in later, but let's start off with a little bit of just this chain lube because it's going to wax up. Get some under here in the tumbler area. Put some of the other lubricant in later because that stuff just makes a mess. That graphite, you get it on anything, it's it. You're not getting it off. It almost feels like it wants to go in this direction, which is different. Yeah, it really does feel like it wants to go that way. I don't think it really matters, but yeah, see, she wants to go that way. So it matters because the key, I like the bottom of the key to go in, but that went in. Now, this one should be the same. That's plastic. This is metal. So why don't we put a little bit of white lube on this? Now this should just go right in. That's got a ramp. That's got a ramp. I think this one is different. Yeah, she's a little different. They make things, they just, I don't think you need any grease because it's plastic. And see, that one went in no problem. We could take it out. See, on this spoon here, if you put like another screwdriver piece, you could get in there and it will turn just enough. See, that comes right out. Now, I don't know if that will go in. Yep, wait. Yeah, that went in. All right, so we got our metal one. And this is our one that we don't have the key for, right? That looks good. Let's go put it together. It goes like this, right, with the ramp towards the striker. But we know that those holes are a little beat, although I have new screws. Now, usually I have toothpicks, but I don't know where the girls put that stuff half the time. So I'm going to take a popsicle stick, which I like to keep around and use for all kinds of things. I'm just going to cut off a wedge and just look to see. I want a thin wedge. Yeah, that's not bad. That should work. All right, now I'm going to put glue on it and try to get as much glue as I can into it. Let's try to wick that glue in. Push it in there, good. That should work. Right, anything I can do to continue to move forward, you know, upgrade something or effect a repair. And this is something I already had. Or if you just want to buy one lock. Okay, and it only goes one way. That's tight. That's feeling good. We got to lubricate it though. It's probably a little too tight. Yeah, it's a little too tight. Put that. Okay. That's nice. Let me check this lock. I'm going to put a little bit of the different lube in there. I think we'll go with just a squirt of the graphite. Get it in my other lock. Get something. It is a little tight. think. Spray some in here. You might have to loosen it up a little bit, but it'll wear in. Now, I know some of you fellas have seen the shop and seen around the shop, and it's nice, but this thing fell down, and I had to put it back up again, and I modified it, and there's nothing but windows in here. And the house is the same. There's so many windows and doors, and the house is like 100 years old or more. And this shop is really old, even though I rebuilt it. And there's a whole bunch of doors here, and there's a whole bunch of doors in the house. And my windows in my house, many of them are so big, if they were any bigger, they'd be doors. So there's all of these things that you kind of, with an old house, old technology, I still have a lot of skeleton keys kind of hanging around. There's lock sets like that. I've collected some older ones with some beautiful like crystal doorknobs, things of that nature, purple, clear. If you're somebody like me and you've got a whole bunch of lock sets or you come across them, let's see if, like I said, you find them in garage sales. That's why I found a lot of the original lock set stuff in garage sales. People they'll look to throw them out, but in a garage sale, they might put them out for $1 or $2. And it's like, well, what do you do with keys and things of that nature? Listen, your old stuff gets worn out. It's made out of pot metal. The newest stuff is plastic. You saw in here, that one actuator rod was plastic. We got to use the metal one. Helpful shop talk, tool talk type stuff. Always fun to have. And now I got myself a tool because things will happen. It'll happen again. Something going to go wrong. See you guys at the next one.